I thought I had this live. Are we now officially like for real? Are we? Oh man,
Now we're live.
are we actually live now? Is this like a
um,
real thing? Because I thought we were going live there a little bit ago.
I'm not sure, and I'm not sure how it works. I'm not sure how this all works when you end the stream and then restart it again.
Well, I had to do a whole new video. This is a whole new. This one
Oh,
has an exclamation mark.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, ooh, Sean can hear us. Can you hear both of us? He just says I hear you. So I don't know if he's talking about me or you or hopefully both of us.
Well, you know what? This is the first time I've been on YouTube in conjunction with our podcast. We have a bunch of subscribers, so hopefully those people have the link. I need
Yeah,
you.
I don't know if you can share it elsewhere, but hopefully people can actually hear us now, and we can talk about. I'm Skippy. Well, that's fun. That doesn't surprise me.
So should I start back over again with what we were going to talk about?
Yeah, let's talk about the new news. We've got EXO stuff going on.
Okay, so the big news again, part due. Um, so the solicitations for today came out, and prior to the solicitations coming out, this would have got spoiled by them. Is that Exo Manowar issue 26 will be the last issue of Matt Kent's run, and that later this year they're already getting the hype going for the relaunch of it. No idea who the writer will be on this or artist, but yeah, like Kent's run, just like how they normally do. A writer gets to have his run on the book. Robert Venditti had his for 50 issues plus some one shots here and there, and an annual, I believe. And the second run under VEI was Matt Kent's, and Eric and I were talking about this just for a little bit on the previous stream that we were trying to do, where I didn't love this run very much like the first year of it. I've really liked like the last year of this book though. Like ever since he's come back to Earth and all the stuff with Sabas, I've really enjoyed the title. I feel like Eric is the same way. Was that you were saying earlier that you kind of like it a lot now, but before you weren't digging it too much?
Yeah, I mean, the very beginning of this was, I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it just took a while for me to get into. And I feel like the last couple of arcs have been the strongest. And, it feels just typical that, of course, gets some, when I'm finally really enjoying it is, of course, when it's gonna come to an end. But no, I do think that it's been a good run, if not my favorite thing. But Matt Kent has been writing for Valiant for a long time. He's done a lot of stuff from Rye to Unity to Ninjak and Exo Manowar, Divinity. He's been all over the board, and I think that he's told us a lot of great stories, given us great characters and all kinds of stuff. So the fact that he wants to move on and do creator own stuff, which is the impression that I've gotten, I'm okay with that. I think that that's a great thing. I think that he can go and tell those stories that he wants to tell, and I think that we can get new voices in the Valiant universe, and I don't think that's a bad thing. And I would absolutely welcome Kent back if he wanted to do more, Valiant work. I'm definitely not like happy he's leaving the company, but at the same time, I mean, I'm sure he doesn't want to stay at Valiant and write Valiant stories for all eternity. So
Yeah,
I'm okay with this change.
yeah, it was inevitable, and he's done a lot of cool stuff, and for the most part, I think like he's done a lot of top notch stuff for the company. I think if you look at Rye and 4001, those are incredible runs. I think if you look at maybe like Unity, you might not be as thrilled on the work. I think Unity is kind of like the down point of his writing here. But like Ninjak was great, and obviously like Divinity and Eternity, those have been really incredible books. So I think like it was bound to happen. Everybody else that's written for this company in the last couple of years has pretty much moved on to new projects, and I know that Kent wants to work in TV, so it was going to happen, sooner or later. you know, and and I want to say somebody had gone to a convention late last year and had written up something about where he said that, like, you know, he was just itching to kind of get into TV, to get out of, maybe, I don't know if he wanted to get out of comics necessarily, but he wanted to do some additional work. So it was going to happen sooner than later, but that's where we're at now.
Yeah, and I could kind of feel the end coming. I think, you know, I was kind of talking about the last issue of the previous arc and how it felt like, you know, he was kind of just throwing shit at us, you know, like he made the new ship Bob, and like, I don't know, they're all the editorial strike through, you know, because he's not doing a creator owned story. He's having to, you know, do someone else's story, and they're telling him what is good and what's not. So, you know, I think that, you know, he's just gotten to the point where he's been working as a gun, you know, hired gun for so long at Valiant that, you know, it's time for him to go spread his wings and do other stuff. And that's great for him as a writer. You know, I wouldn't want to see his career stagnate and have him sit in one spot for the rest of his life. So I'm happy for him that he's going to move on. And I hope that, you know, he does great things. And I hope that we get some awesome new talent coming in. I was saying before that I would love to see Andy Diggle do more Valiant. Maybe he could come into XO, who knows? And there are obviously lots of other writers out there who've never written at Valiant. That would be awesome.
Oh, I totally agree. You know, and like, I always think about like Fred Van Lente, and I think Fred Van Lente has done so much really strong work as far as like, you know, knowing just like the history of Valiant. He's worked on just about every title that Valiant's had. You know, he's worked on every little corner of it. So to me, like, if they were to announce like Fred Van Lente taking over the book, right, I would actually be pretty thrilled, just because I do like his writing a lot. I think he totally gets these characters. He's got a little bit of a passion for writing, you know, the various projects that he does here. Other than that, though, I don't know who I would even think about like taking over the book. But hopefully, my only knock on this thing, because I mean, I get this is what they do, and I'm over the fact that, like, you know, it's going to get renumbered. It's okay. I don't care, you know. But I think the one thing I didn't really love was like the cover arts that they showed. And to me, I think like, hopefully, if this is the A cover, I hope there's some better art, because I mean, like, I feel like the cover art is done by Doug Braithwaite, and if you look at like his Livewire cover, it's really exceptional. His Bloodshot Rising Spirit cover, same thing. They were great, but I thought that this Exo Man artwork was a little bit lacking to me. I just didn't dig it as much, but I just hope that, you know, for the company that they're trying to get things going. This is going to be like their first full year without Dinesh. They're bringing in new editors. They're trying to get all this new talent. Make a splash, you know. Like, this is your flagship title. You have to bring something big to this. You know, you can't sit there and just find like some person who's like got like hardly any like name recognition. You got to have a big gun for this. So, you know, I'm excited to see what happens with it.
Yeah, honestly, I really liked the Braithwaite art. I mean, his stuff isn't always my favorite, but I actually thought that it was really good. I really enjoyed I really enjoyed that image. I liked the way that he drew the sword in it, and I thought that the suit looked really badass. So I don't know. Mileage will vary, I suppose.
Yeah, we can't agree on everything, man. You know.
Yeah, you can't always be right like me.
Oh.
uh, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, that's cool. I think it's cool that we're getting another direction from the character. And then what other news just came out? I'm completely blanking.
Well,
we got this
news. We should go into the solicitations, but the other news, and this will get brought up within the solicitations also. And this was something that people were actually pretty excited about, and I was one of those people who was pretty excited about this. Was that artist?
You know what? Before you go into it, I actually want to get to a point that I don't want to gloss over that Sean is making. I actually think deserves some conversation. Sean's saying that you know, Kent is kind of a good idea man, but the storytelling doesn't always work. I know I have some thoughts about that. What do you think about that?
I agree with that to an extent. I mean, like I think he's a proven talent where there are books that he does where like I think he really nails it, he really gets it, or maybe because it's maybe so much of his own idea, like fully his own idea, he just does some really strong work. And in that I'm talking about Divinity. I think like his Divinity work is near perfect. I really just get into it, and I've gushed over it so many times on this podcast. Now, I think on the flip side of that, I wasn't a huge fan of Unity. I thought the first arc of Unity was good, and I thought the couple of arcs after that were all right. And then from there, I'm not a big fan of those issues. And I think that like Ninjak had a lot of great arcs, and then toward the end, it kind of fell off a little
Yeah,
bit. But think about Rai. I mean, like Rai is I don't think Rai people loving Rai is only because of the art, and the art on it is perfect. Clayton Crane just kills every issue on that thing. But the writing is really good. That is a great story, and I think that that's one of those stories that like people will always kind of come back to as like something that was really awesome. I think it's a reason why people really do like that 4001, 4002 stuff. But I don't know. It's hard to say because I see so many people talking about Kent's other work more often than I see people talking about like his Valiant work. Like if I go onto other Facebook groups or comic book forums, people love the stuff he does at Dark Horse, and I haven't really read that much of it. I haven't read Mind Management or Department H, Ether, any of those books. I haven't read Grass Kings yet, so it's hard to say, man. And those people, but people love those books, man. Like people are really passionate about those books. I think he does good. I think the best thing he did though, and he had help with it, was the Valiant. I think the Valiant is
yeah.
the best thing Kent did, and Lemire helped him. I would say that.
So I actually saw Sean mention that in the Facebook group that Kent needs a writing partner at Valiant. And I think the Valiant being the best thing that he wrote there, I think shows that. I will agree that Divinity works really well. I think those stories are really good. But I would say like the 4001 event, I remember being super disappointed with that fourth issue because basically the first half of the fourth issue was a recap of the third issue. And then the rest of it was just, okay, well, I guess that's over now. And it just felt like he ran out of story too soon and wasn't writing it in a way where he could, fix that. So it just, I don't know, it just felt like that event fell flat because of that. The thing that saved that event though was the actual Rye issues because those backstories were amazing. But I think that he does really good with that kind of thing. Like those one-shot backstories and the way it all tied together were amazing. And then you look at the event itself, and I think that he tried to make it big and grandiose. And I think, Harbinger Wars 2, I mean, how could we even forget that? I mean, that's another thing that, and obviously some of the stuff that happened with that was out of his control, but that event still, there were a lot of things about it that, felt kind of off.
Yeah, but you know what though? Like one thing I would say in defense of Harbinger Wars 2, and I mean, I don't think it's that bad for like what it is because I'm pretty sure that that was a story that once Eric Heisler stepped out, Kent had to pick up everything on, and they had to change the format because it seems to me, if I remember correctly, back when Dinesh was still with the company, Harbinger Wars 2 was going to be, these oversized issues. There's two stories. You're seeing both sides of it, much like how Harbinger Wars 1 played out. And then everything happens with Dinesh. He's gone. People are leaving. Eric Heiser being one of them. And it just seems like, I think for like what Kent had to probably do, which was like save that entire event, I don't think it's like some like terrible thing. I think like there's a little bit of disappointment in the fact that like I know for me, I think everything Eric Heiser did at Valiant is near perfect.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think like I can still look at Harbinger Wars 2 and enjoy it. It's not a perfect story by any means, but it's fun. It's kind of just like goofy comics, and it definitely kind of feels like Valiant's version of Civil War to me, at least. Like the whose side are you on? And so I don't know, but I think like I don't know. I don't want to slam on Kent too much because I think like for the most
No.
part, I think most everything I've read by him I've really liked. There's just like a couple storylines where I just think, eh. And we talk about one a
Yeah.
lot.
I would agree with that. I think that the bulk of his work, I'm a really big fan of. Honestly, I know that you had mentioned Unity as maybe one of the low points of his writing, but I actually really like that book. I think that it's really good, and honestly, I need to go back and reread it again. So I'm definitely a fan of that work. Like I said, his Divinity stuff. I don't love it quite as much as you do, Josh, but I am a really big fan of the Divinity stories. And then most of Rye was amazing. His Ninjak run was so good. I honestly had no hopes that Gage would even be able to live up to that. Of course, he did, but yeah, he's a great writer. Not trying to knock him. I just thought Sean brought up a good point that was worth discussing. But
any point that anyone brings up is worth discussing because we love to interact with people in our chat.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And for one of the first times ever, I actually get to see the chat, which is really nice.
And interact with the people. So the other thing that you were going to say is that we're getting a classic Valiant artist coming back. Actually, some Okie dude in the comments is talking about what's going on with Bloodshot.
Yeah, so like issue 6, which will be in April, we'll see the return of Rags Morales to Valiant. And Rags had done some work back in like the 90s era of Valiant. And it's kind of funny because he popped up on the Valiant comic fans Facebook group like last week, kind of like reintroducing himself, it seemed like. And I just thought like, wow, that's cool. Like that guy's, reaching back out to the community. He's a really nice guy. I've met him before at conventions and he's super nice. I like his art a lot. For people who might not be familiar with him, probably the most famous thing he's worked on was he did Identity Crisis at DC, which is a love it or absolutely hate it kind of story. A lot of DC fans would probably tell you they hate it, but not because of the art. There's some questionable material within it. I think it's really good. But he also worked on a Hawkman relaunch, like back in the 90s under Jeff Johns. He does really good work. I think that like he will add a really great look to Bloodshot. His art is awesome. Really well detailed. Hopefully he sticks around for a while. And it kind of stinks because I feel like I had this same kind of excitement with Ken Lashley. And as much as I hate bagging on stuff, I've been really disappointed in how Bloodshot Rising Spirit has looked. I don't think it looks very. It's no right book, but I just feel like that dude he's just not delivering what he's capable of. So way stoked for Rags. He's an awesome artist. Are you familiar with him at all, Eric?
No, I was actually going to say, like, I can't pretend to be really familiar with Rags Morales as an artist, so I don't really know exactly what to expect, but I'm definitely, I know a lot of people have a lot of respect for him as an artist, and so I'm 100% on board with him, taking on Bloodshot. I think it's cool to see, Valiant alumni, in a sense, come back and contribute to the new iteration of the company. I think it would be cool if the opportunities are right to see other people who worked at Valiant previously and in its previous iterations come back, but obviously sometimes that's realistic and sometimes it's not. But anyway, I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be awesome. So in one sense, he's already Valiant creator, but in another sense, he's fresh new blood to this new universe.
Yeah, I think like a lot of new fans will have a chance to be reintroduced to his art. So speaking of the chat, I know that this was something that we did not talk about on a prior episode. So Valiant did hire a new editor, and some Okie dude in the chat brought this up about Heather Antos. What our thoughts were about her joining. Do you know anything about her by chance, Eric?
So I know that, or my understanding is that it was her milkshake photo that spawned the whole Comicsgate movement, and
she brought the rage out of the fanboys, like big time.
Yeah. I don't want to even get into the whole Comicsgate thing. I think that she is a professional editor, and I have trust in the people at Valiant bringing in talent that they believe is going to help push the line in a positive direction. And, hopefully she'll do that. The only way that we're going to know is when we start seeing her name on books and judging their quality and how she works with the writers and the rest of the creators.
Here's my only thoughts on it. I don't want to get too crazy on the Comicsgate stuff. I don't know if there's ever anything else said All I ever know is that she was a relatively unknown person until Flo Steinberg died at Marvel, and they did the picture to celebrate her, and then like people were angry about it. But here's my thing: a lot of people who are creators in the comic book industry, a lot of big names, really seem to like her, and sometimes it just takes a person who is well liked to get someone else in the door. So if she's a good editor, and it seems like people do like her, if she can bring talent in, and she's not even like executive editor, she's just the editor over whatever books they give her, but I'm pretty sure she's
Right.
going to be editor over the new EXO. And she was talking also about having like a line of books, which sounds really exciting. I don't know anything else about it. Like hopefully, I know we've had this discussion where we're like, we don't care about the number of books. We just want the quality to be good, quality over quantity. But if it's something that can help the company get a couple more titles out and those books sell, I'm all for it. And if she can bring talent in, I've got no complaints. That's just kind of how I sit with it. Like um, I've got nothing against her, but I've never really witnessed her work. But I think she
Yeah.
seems. I mean, I don't think they would hire her if she was incapable of being an editor.
So I will say the only thing that I really know about her is that Comicsgate people seem to hate her, but I haven't seen any reason why, and I also haven't seen any reason to support Comicsgate or anything that people who support it have to say about people like Heather Antos. Obviously, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I am most definitely not here to do anything other than talk about my love of Valiant. So certainly not here to tell anybody where they should fall on an issue like Comicsgate, but it's just not for me.
Yeah. I mean, like my problem with it, is just that like there's loudmouth people with it who kind of suck. And then you look at the people who aren't loudmouths, and they're usually just like regular comic fans. But the people with the biggest bark are like the ones who are the most annoying about it. And they're the ones that usually say like a lot of messed up stuff. But I don't know. I mean, I see a lot of people that just seem like normal people in it, and that's cool. And they like Valiant. So we all have something in common.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And that's what we're here for. The other thing that just came out today is the new solicits. And I don't actually have them all pulled up right now, but I believe I counted 7 books, which is a, I would say a positive thing as an increase from 6.
yeah, well, I want to say like this month we only had 5. Like
Oof, that's
so.
rough.
Yeah. But yeah, 7 books. So I have them up on my.
Ooh, somebody's prepared. I know
Yes.
we're getting that's going to be XO 26. That'll be when XO 26 comes out, and that's
Yeah.
Kid's final issue. Um, I remember saying, Crispy Bacon is screaming about the Imperium Deluxe coming. And I think that the timing for that Imperium Deluxe coming is perfect because, with Life and Death of Toyo Harada coming out, I mean, getting that opportunity to go back and for those of us who've already read it, getting the opportunity to go back and revisit those stories. And for new people, getting an opportunity to read that deluxe is going to be an awesome way for them to kind of, get to know a lot more about Toyo Harada and understand the stakes behind the life and death of Toyo Harada even better.
I do have a tiny disappointment to bring up in all this. And that is when we talked about crispy bacon last week, I thought it was just the word crispy and bacon, and that was like Homeboy's like moniker. But he's actually just Chris P. Bacon. But we still love you for taking part in our little podcast, man. It's still the best name. Somebody else had like I want to say it was like Jason Smith who had like some wild YouTube name. I wish I could remember what it
Oh
was.
yeah.
He joined us one time, and we were just like, "What? Who is this person?" Like, I can't remember what his name was, but I like the names like that. Crispy Bacon's a good one, but I wish I could remember
So
the
to
guy's
kind
name.
of clarify for some Okie dude, so Harbinger began at the beginning of the current Valiant universe in 2012. They went for about 25 issues, and those are an amazing 25 issue run. It kind of ended with Harbinger Omegas, which I believe was only 3 issues, and then it will go from and then it went from that to Imperium. And Imperium, as Josh Dysart was telling us when we interviewed him a couple weeks ago, his idea with Imperium was, Harbinger is this kind of superhero team book with kind of a lot of the tropes, and cliches. And he wanted to do the opposite. So he took a bunch of his favorite tropes of comic book villains and made a team book about those villains. And Imperium is an amazing book. It's got not only some awesome action and big time superhero villain comic book epicness, it also has a lot to say about the state of the world and Toyo Harada's view of what it should be and how to get there. And Josh Dysart is really good at what he calls social realism, and it's something that's present in all of his work, and I really like how he handled it in Imperium.
Yeah, so I mean, like, for anyone who hasn't read it, if you're just like a hardcover collector, I think it's gonna be a real treat to you, because like this is like some really like hardcore stuff. Now I'm not talking like hardcore, like the Valiant team, the hardcore. I mean, like this is like some really like serious in tone, a little dark. It's really good stuff. It seems like a lot of people have really been waiting on it. And then like my only complaint is I think it does kind of have like a weird ending because I obviously like Josh was working up to something which now will get completed with Life and Death, which is great. And then who knows? After this, we might start seeing Toyo, hopefully pop up in other places. We'll just see.
Yeah, ideally we would get just like I'd love to see Kint's Divinity characters coming into other books. I'd love to see Toyo showing up in other books as well and kind of get more of his machinations. I think he's a great villain. He'd be a great foil for a lot of other characters. So,
Crispy Bacon made a good point in the chat about how, and even though this doesn't quite tie in like perfectly with like Harbinger and Imperium, the Gen Zero kids do kind of matter a little bit in that whole storyline too, because they are introduced in Harbinger. You do see them within the run, and then in Gen Zero, they get killed by the hardcore. So
no, they don't get killed in Gen Zero. In the Gen Zero book, there.
Oh no, they get killed in Renegades, but the Gen Zero kids get killed.
Yeah. So spoiler for anybody who hasn't read that.
Hey, you're
but it was a couple years ago, so sorry. We're talking current stuff. Anyway, so actually speaking of current stuff, let's get into the reviews. We got 2 books to review.
Okay, let's do it.
So Exo Manowar 23 gives us the return of Tomas Girello. He's done amazing work, not only with Exo Manowar, but also on the Ninja K book. His work was amazing. He did Harbinger Wars 2. His art is just always phenomenal. And this is no exception. I thought the art in this book was really, really good. And I really feel like the reason that I'm loving where Exo Manowar as a title is at right now, and this issue is a perfect example, it's just a great, big, huge action book. And I don't think every Exo Manowar story, while I love the, like the quiet moments and the introspective, also introspective moments, I love also Exo for these, the whole world is on the line and, shit's going crazy and, giant mechs and lasers and explosions and all this stuff. This issue has all of that, and it's drawn amazingly, and it's really fun and really fucking awesome.
Yeah. The art, I mean, I feel like you can't say enough about Tomas Girello. His art just looks incredible. I did think there was something really weird about this issue, and I don't know how I feel about this, but like, what's up with like Arik being a piss drinker? Like I just can't understand like why that even needed to be part of the conversation with him in the armor, where he's like, "Hey, do I go to the bathroom in the armor?" Sure, you do. We recycle it, Arik. What do you think you've been drinking in this thing? It was such a bizarre moment.
But I think it's funny and it makes sense.
It doesn't have anything to do with any. I mean, is this going to come up with the Arik? Like, why would you put that in there?
Why not? It was Arik having it's for me. It was showing the dynamic of his relationship with the armor.
Yeah, it's him and Sean Hara bonding over piss drinking. Yeah, like it just seemed really out of place to me. I mean, like yeah, it's funny, but like at the same time, it's just like, huh? So I don't know.
It didn't bother me, but whatever. Like I said, I don't know. For me, this issue was just fun, and I think that like the last arc, I kind of could see, signs of Kent kind of being done and being ready to say goodbye to Valiant. I think he's just having fun now. He's not taking everything so seriously. He's not, digging in as deep as he was previously. And I think that while those stories have a lot of merit and are good, I think just sitting back and having fun and throwing the pieces around the board is a worthwhile story as well.
Oh yeah, and there is definitely other stuff I liked about this issue. That was just like a weird thing, but like I love the fact that when the bounty hunters are reintroduced, they basically have like they're like killing another like ginger alien.
Yeah.
It's like I like
Three
the
of them.
fact, yeah, so I like the fact that they're finding these things, and apparently it seems like they're named after like spices. So kind of awesome. I can't wait till we meet like I don't know sugar,
Cinnamon.
cinnamon, coriander,
Um,
coriander. Let's get that one in there, and turmeric. Um,
Cinnamon is going to be the stripper one of them, though,
I thought
But
that like I thought that whole thing like where they just like cut the head off the robot and they just shut the head in space, and then spoiler alert for those who haven't read the issue, but that like alien that shows up to like comfort that head, that's got to be his like girlfriend from Gorin.
um, oh, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't
Here's
really
why
even
I bring it
concerned
up.
with who she is.
Here's why I bring it up. Is if you look at the solicitations for the cover, I think it's issue 26's cover, it shows Arik with her on the cover.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking like it's a huge spoiler that like that. Or maybe it's a misdirect. Who knows? Maybe it's not her. Maybe it's just someone who looks like her. There's a lot of those people on that planet Gorin. So who knows? But I mean like I just think like that's gotta be her trying to like find Arik. There's something there with between them possibly. Like um like she must obviously care about him or something. Maybe there's and the thing is like that could be there is that like the thing that drove him away from Earth is the thing that she's now trying to find him for. Like maybe like since like for people who haven't read Kent's Run talks about how Arik leaves Earth after Sana miscarries a baby, and he leaves. They blame the armor, but he's stuck with the armor. And maybe this is a case where she's got the bun in the oven and it's okay. Like maybe there's no worry. So who knows? That's just my crazy like theory on
I mean, that very well could be the case. I honestly don't know, and I'm interested to see how it plays out. I think that this could be, so far based on this issue, I think this is going to be a really fun action ride.
And I
For
like to
me,
think that
this
all
is
my theories, I think zero of them have come true. So I'm batting very poorly.
yeah, I think I don't know. I don't know what our track record on theories is. I never kept track.
That's
But
not
for
when
me,
people,
this is a
people don't
fun
come to us
issue.
for track records. They come to us for the fact that we bring up obscure characters and they're like, you know what? Valiant's going to make a book of Livewire because these dudes said to. So that's why we're here. We're influential. We just don't get it right.
That's so influential. So yeah, I think this book, if you'll let me give my fucking score,
Nope. Nope.
is oh, you son of a bitch. I don't know. I'm struggling a little bit. I'm going to go with 3.75. I think that this is a really, really solid book. It's not the best book on the stands or anything like that, in my opinion, but it is really good. If you like EXO, if you like the powers, you may not have liked most of this run, but we're finally getting EXO in his suit, being a badass, fighting other badasses. I'm down.
Yeah, like we didn't even really talk much about like the bounty hunters from Gorin, or I don't even actually really know where they're from at this point. I can't remember, but like they're pretty
Right.
awesome. They just
The
show up and like
processors.
they just show up and ambush Arik and serve him his ass. So it was a decent issue. I'd say that I would give this one a 3.5. Um, just like a little bit of wonkiness with a couple things that we don't need to go back into. But I do think at the same time, like it's really enjoyable and it's a beautiful looking book. I mean, like I said, like we both have said, like on every single book that Tomas Girella has worked on for Valiant, he's just got a lot of detail. He's got a really cool style. If nothing else, I mean, I hope people are buying it, even to just look at. I mean, but he really is like I think will be remembered as like one of the best like XO artists. I mean, he's just super talented.
Yeah. As Crispy Bacon points out, you ain't cool unless you pee your pants. So in Adam
And drink
Sandler's book, and drink it. It's like Adam Sandler or Billy Madison. Is it Billy
Yeah.
Madison? Yeah, Billy Madison plus Bear Grylls is Exo Manowar right now. Oh man. So Crispy Bacon also pointed out that we started talking about the solicits and then we just stopped. So
We can go through it real quick. I have it up.
yeah, yeah. Let's
We can just cruise
what
through
else
it.
is coming out?
Okay, so like the first thing we have is there's going to be Punk Mambo. So Punk Mambo shows up in April, first of 5 issues.
Cullen Bunn entering the Valiant universe.
Yeah, that should be way exciting. And the covers on it look awesome. Oh my!
Adam Gorham is doing interior, so it's going to be great.
Yeah, so there's pre-order editions for everything. All the covers look awesome. I think that the Dan Brereton Punk variant cover looks awesome. So
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not looking at it. What else are we
well,
getting?
I will talk about the covers then. You just sit there, okay? So the next thing is the Life and Death of Toyo Harada Part Two, and
Nice.
the solicitation doesn't really talk too much about the book. I think we're so far out on it. We don't want to get into it. There's obviously the Ash Can, but it's I mean, from what I've read from the Ash Can, it's pretty amazing stuff. I think people are gonna really like this. I think this is gonna be the thing that wins a lot of people back on Valiant, just because there are so many people that have such a high regard for Josh's work on the characters. Um, there are a lot of great covers on it. Cafu, no, not Cafu. Miko Swan's got one. Ariel Olivetti, Dean Haspiel. I think Miko's cover on it's awesome. Then from there, we have the Forgotten Queen. So for those who were looking for Warmonger. So that third issue that's coming out. I haven't read the preview of it yet. I'm just trying to stay away from it so I can go in really fresh.
I looked at the preview, the 5-page preview or whatever we've gotten. I didn't. I kind of skimmed it. I read a little bit here and there, a couple panels, but I tried not to pay too much attention because I just, yeah, like you said, I want to go fresh into this story when it comes out. But I think it looks like it's going to be cool. The art looks like it's going to be good, and I'm really interested to see, because this is another example of a new voice coming into the Valiant universe, and it's an example of Valiant taking a chance on a lesser known character and saying, look, there's a story to tell here. And it doesn't, even though it's not Exo or Bloodshot or Ninjak, this is still a story worth telling. And I'm ready to read it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So then from there, there's Incursion, part 3 or 4, which has an awesome looking Doug Braithwaite cover. I mean, when you guys get a chance to look at it, pull it up. It looks awesome. And one thing that's really cool about this one, looking at the solicitations, we're going to see more of Dr. Mirage. So Dr. Mirage is totally popping up like all over the place. She was in Ninja K. She was just in Faith Dreamside. Now she's going to be in Incursion. So good stuff if you like the character. It does sound like it's going to be very much like a like Dead Side type story. Maybe not no Shadow Man in it, but it's still going to be pretty fun.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, so I'm ready to read it when it comes out, and we'll go from there. It looks like they're saying now that Andy Diggle is credited with the story, and Alex Packnadel is writing it, fleshing it out. Seems kind of the same thing that they did with Bloodshot Rising Spirit. And if it turns out good, I'm fine. And hopefully it does.
Yeah. Then from there, Livewire number 5. And Livewire will have an art change, but not a bad one, as Kano will step on. And
yeah.
We all like his art. So, and there's a bunch of rad covers on that one too. I think the Kenneth Rocafort A cover actually looks the best. And then we'd already talked a little bit about Bloodshot Rising Spirit earlier. It's still Kevin Grievous or Grievous or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I just need to hear it somewhere said by someone official, so I know like how his name is pronounced. But Rags Morales should be awesome, and there's a rad Felipe Massafera cover, but also, and I mean, for some of the older fans might dig this. There's a Mark Teixeira cover, and Mark Teixeira is very famous for doing Ghost Rider in the '90s, and people love his art. So I'm looking at the cover here. It looks rad. I'm a big fan, so I'll probably be buying that one also. And then last but not least, actually, is XO 26, Ken's last issue.
which we definitely already talked about, and we just talked about 23. Yeah, it'll be
And so
interesting to see where this arc goes.
yeah, and then one thing real quick I did want to bring up, and I think that last month's solicitation started this, but there's two $1 debuts that are going to come back. They're doing the first issue of XO Man of War under Matt Kent, and there's also a reprinting of the Divinity $1 debut. So cheap issues to be had.
Yeah, I love when they do those dollar debuts. Usually I try to get my shop to order as many as they can, and then I just buy them all and give them away so that people have a chance to read something.
Yeah, I actually did that this Christmas. I took my kids to do Sub for Santa, and the comic shop had a bunch of the old Rye and Harbinger ones. I bought I bought like 10 of them, and I was just like, just put these in your Secret Santa Sub for Santa box. Just give them to whoever. So I think it's a great way to like get people interested. It kind of stinks when a lot of those books are old and they're not done anymore. Like you're like, oh, I read Divinity 1. When's the next issue come out? Well, it already came out like a couple years ago. But
yeah,
but
you can buy the trade, you can buy the deluxe. There's ways to still get that story.
Oh yeah, definitely. So those are the best. And if you buy them off like DCBS, they're super cheap. So
yeah.
anyway, that was the solicitations. Thanks for keeping us on track, Dave.
Yeah, somebody's got to manage this shit show.
It is not going to be either of us.
Yeah. Crispy Bacon says something like about Savage news, but I do not believe anything that there has been any Savage news. B. Claymore is doing Killers, which is coming up in the breakthrough lineup, and I'm stoked to see that. But yeah, if he does more Savage, cool. But I don't.
The one thing that kind of stinks though is if they do get back to Savage, and we don't have like Clayton Henry is not like a huge draw on it to me. I like his art, obviously, but like Louis LaRosa drawing dinosaurs is awesome. And I
Fuck
feel like
yeah.
if you're gonna give us Savage, please get LaRosa back on it. But he's working for Marvel right now. I mean, he's doing some pretty awesome X-Men covers. So probably not gonna get him back anytime soon.
Unfortunately. So we have another issue to talk about, and this one I'm super stoked to talk about. Livewire #2. Dude. So that first issue to me was so amazing. I'm fairly sure that we gave it a 5. I'm pretty sure I did at least.
I think we both did.
Yeah. And that issue was just phenomenal. And I was really curious how this next issue would follow up on it. And it so did not disappoint. Something that I think is done really, 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 really well in this Livewire series so far is that it's the perfect combination of like a really dense story. Like a lot happens in this issue, it seems like, but at the same time, it doesn't feel slow at all. Like it moves at a lightning pace, it felt like. So, combining those two things, like without it feeling rushed at all and with everything feeling well fleshed out, I mean, that's amazing. It's so perfectly written. There are quiet moments, there's action, there's just so much to this book, and the shit that happens in it, like Livewire getting basically neutered, like holy fuck, man, like this is so good.
Yeah, so like for the events of the issue is that Livewire got captured last issue, okay, and she's pretty much like public enemy #1 everywhere. People know who she is. She's caught. She gets the shit beat out of her by like some crazy guard, and they implant this chip into her neck. I think it was a chip, but they put something in her neck, basically shutting off her powers, and then she beats up the guy, finds a way to get out. It was a good issue, man. There's only like a tiny issue I had with this, and I kind of have an issue with it and don't have an issue with it. And one is that like I felt like a kind of an unnecessary explanation of like what happened with Livewire in this issue, where she's like, I did all these things, for my people to like not be persecuted and all this, and this guy's like, you shouldn't have done that, and so many people died, blah 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 blah. And I feel like, God damn, man, didn't we just go through this whole thing like starting up this whole like first issue anyway? There's a part of me where I feel like we don't need to go back and like rehash everything. And on the other side of it, though, I feel like you never know, like when someone's first issue is like this issue, and when I was a kid, every book was like someone's introduction to like a character or like someone's first issue on a book. So it's okay to have those explanations. I don't know. It's kind of weird, and I'm probably not explaining it very well. But to me, I was like, there's just things that were just kind of like over-explained. I thought with this issue, the art is incredible. And I love the fact that like there was like that little like Rosie the Riveter panel when she's getting ready to like get out of there. She's got her arm up, and getting ready to take care of business. Um, I think this is a great issue. Vita is awesome. She knows the character very. Oh, sorry, Vita knows the character very well. I'm gonna have the hardest time not, you know,
You're
but
so I totally agree. Vita is nailing this book. Crispy Bacon seems to not think there's a whole lot going on in this issue, but I totally disagree. I felt like they did a really good job of kind of giving us a feel of, we're getting an understanding of who these people are that have kidnapped Livewire without being beaten over the head with it, and there's still mystery there. We still don't know 100% about what's going on. I thought that was handled really well. I liked the idea of Livewire getting her ass kicked, but honestly, like, she was allowing it to happen, and then the fact that she's able to get out pretty easily without any powers just shows how much of a badass she really is.
oh
Um,
yeah, I mean you know that like Harada would have like trained her to be like super deadly, even without any kind of like psion ability, because she was so close to him. One thing we didn't even mention either is like this Pan dude that shows up at the very beginning of this, and that dude's like a total badass too.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I almost forgot about that. But that whole opening sequence was super badass. Like,
Yeah.
there's so much going on in this issue, in my opinion. Like, I just felt like it was jam-packed, but also didn't feel rushed. And I think that's a really difficult thing to do. The art here is, I mean, Crispy Bacon saying at least Livewire didn't pee your pants. True. that's one leg up that this book has over XL right now. Oh man, who else in the Valiant universe pees their pants? I think we and see
I don't
who's her. Definitely Woody.
but yeah,
Oh,
for the most part, I think this was like a really great issue. And I mean, we're 2 issues into the story. I am so impressed with this book. Right now, this is my favorite thing going on at Valiant, 2 issues in. But I think like the thing about like an issue like this where it's like, oh, there's not much going on. I think there's a glimpse into like what's going on with Livewire when things are turned off. Like when she can't hear everything that's electronic around her. I like that like recognition within the story where she's like, oh, can't I can't hear the machines. It's quiet. It kind of sucked to see her just get like the crap kicked out of her. But like at the same time, like she's responsible for so much like death and destruction. That like it's bound to happen. She's got these crazy abilities. My only question coming up is I think that like who these people are that have her, it's not really explained too well yet. That's okay. What's the point of like chipping her? Like, are they gonna like send her off to like jail? Are these guys a government agency? Are these guys just like some freelance
they
people?
said that they're working for the government. They have a government contract to develop anti-psyop technology, and that if they can prove that it works by using it on Livewire, they're going to essentially have unlimited funding to go out, find, and chip every psyop in the country. So
Yeah,
yeah,
so
I
these
mean,
guys they went after like a big fish, and but I just think like there's a lot of great stuff to this. So I mean, for me, I'm gonna give this book a 4.5. I think this one's excellent, and I think that people should be excited for this book. Vita has total knowledge of the character. Vita can do no wrong with the book as far as I'm concerned. we'll just see. And but
You
I mean,
know,
even with an art change coming up, I think that if you look at like how the layouts are on the art with Raul Allen and Patricia Martin, they're still doing great stuff that like you would expect to see like when they're working with Eric Heiser. Like this book in a way kind of still feels like Eric Heiser because he put these pieces in motion. And I mean that's not to knock Vita. I think that Vita was just left a great place to start this book up at. So I mean we're this is going to be great. I mean this that's all I can really say about it. You know, it's just that it's great, loving it.
so to me, I totally agree that this feels like a continuation of Secret Weapons. But at the same time, I also can see this as being, you know, the beginning of a new chapter for Livewire. And I kind of, I don't know. I like the way that it's going. I like that it is kind of this new, a new step, you know, and we're developing her character. She's becoming a lot more than she ever was, and that's perfect. So for me, the art is basically perfect. Like Secret Weapons was, I'm pretty sure, fives across the board for art and writing all the way. And honestly, for me, like this second issue is another five. You know, this is exactly what I want out of comic books. This is so, like I said, it's dense without being boring. It's fast without being, you know, without blowing past important stuff. There's, you know, we're seeing Livewire think her way out of traps, and we're seeing her, you know, be a badass without powers. We're seeing real threats to her. I mean, her powers are taken away. She stood up those kids, even though she really didn't mean to, and now who knows what the fuck is going on with them. She's got this badass new character coming after her. I mean, there's just so much awesomeness happening in this book right now. And for me, like, you know, I just think about how amazing Jodie Hauser is with Faith, right? Like, she just perfectly understands that character. But it took her a 4-issue mini to really get that down. Like, I feel like those first 4 issues of her work with Faith, you know, are a little bit maybe clunky, not quite, but that's the best word I can come up with right now. Whereas Vita's take on Livewire feels complete immediately. Like, I just feel like they really get the character. She's super well fleshed out. But okay, so the one thing that Sean is bringing up is that moment when the scientist talks about how the chip would shut off about 5 seconds before total brain death. And I think that he's asking, you know, Sean's asking, how does the chip know how long it's going to take and whether, you know, how close someone is to death? And I think that that's just saying that, you know, because the chip runs off of battery power, because the chip is powered by brain electricity, that if the brain is dying, the amount of electrical activity in the brain will be decreasing, and it will, about 5 seconds before total brain death, would be the point where the electrical activity in the brain is too low to continue powering
Yeah.
the chip.
Is that like when like the neurons stop firing, or maybe even something with like a part of the rhythm of the pulse of, you know, stuff going through the blood and the heart and all that stuff, kind of stuff? It does seem like a little like high science, you know, like in a way where you're like, is that a thing? Like, I mean, like when I read that part, I was like, is that a thing? But I also think like with stuff like that, sometimes we're dealing with comic books about like a person that can control all machinery or all electrical, you know. And it's just like if I can imagine that, and if I can imagine like half the shit I see like in Valiant, I have to sometimes look past sentences like that, even though it does sound a bit wonky. Like, how does that
So to
work?
me, yeah, I mean, if you're cool with a guy that can conjure pretty much anything out of thin air and a girl that talks to birds, but you can't handle a chip that is powered by the brain and shuts off when the brain is shutting off, then I don't know what to tell
No, but
you.
you know, though, Sean makes a great point though, where he's like, you know, is this how Amanda's going to trick the chip? and to like
Yes,
get.
and I think it is, and I think that that's fine to give us that foreshadowing. But what would be most exciting, what would be the most exciting to me, is if it turns out not to work out that way. This is a like Sean said, a big red herring, and there's a big flip, and something completely different happens. But even if that is what happens, that's still going to be fucking awesome, and there's still so much more coming for this story that I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah. I would imagine that she'll get her powers back though pretty soon, just because like a Livewire book where she doesn't have her abilities, like if it's written well, that's great. But I just think that you would want to see Livewire doing something like cool with her abilities. So
Yeah. I mean, how many issues of Exo did we get where he didn't wear the armor though? You know, like every issue was he's getting one step closer to putting it on, but he never actually puts it on.
That road, because that was like such a pain in the ass thing I hated about Exo. Him just hanging out like, I don't want the armor. I've got this ring and I'm gonna control it. Like, fuck that. Give me an Exo book where he's in the armor. Sorry, that just doesn't really work. Livewire's got to have her abilities. You might as well just give me like a Bloodshot book where like he doesn't have any nanites and he just sits around. Like, basically give me like the first issue of Reborn, but for like 15 issues. He just sits there and does drugs and like weeps, you know.
No, but you can tell from Bloodshot Reborn that a Bloodshot book where he doesn't have his nanites works.
Oh yeah,
right.
I mean, like
and
the thing is that book, like,
her powers can work.
Where like it progressed, and you're like, oh okay, like they're going somewhere with this. But like the thing is, like with Exo, like Kent's Exo run, is it just felt like every issue was like, hey Armor, I'm not going to use you. I'm going into a battle, and then we're going to do that. We're going to rinse and repeat like for a couple issues that same kind of thing, you know. And it just there were times early on where you're like, where's this book going? You know, to me, like the book picked up once he was like, okay, I need Shanhara. You know, let's go fight the bounty hunters. You know, let's go do that kind of stuff. Let's take over the planet. That's when it was fun. It just took a while to get there.
Yeah.
And it had, and
so like
had a great first issue. It just didn't stay consistent for a while.
Well, so what Sean's saying is that, you know, we were a little bit off base. That it's not that he can't accept the whole concept of the chip dying or whatever, all of that stuff. It just felt like it was overly obvious foreshadowing. I think either it is, you know, obvious foreshadowing, which is, you know, I mean, that's a thing that happens in writing sometimes. And then also, or the flip side is it is a red herring. And who knows? I mean, we don't know how this is going to play out. I'm interested to see how it goes. So far for me, both of these issues have been essentially comic book perfection. I've been extremely happy with them. I'm really excited to see where this book goes. I didn't read the full solicit for Livewire issue 5, but it's the beginning of a new arc, and I really think that you know, I love the fact that
I don't want to spoil it for anyone because we usually try not to spoil things too much on the solicit. But to me, like it just sounds like it's getting kind of in like the nitty gritty parts of like Valiant Universe, man. And that's exciting, you know, like just I mean, I don't like I said, we try not to like get too crazy on like what's going to happen in 4 months because you never really know like where anything's going to be by that time. But sounds fun. You know, one thing I wanted to point out is I started this, not like I've been doing it for a while, but today I was like, oh, I'm going to put a poll up on our Twitter, on the Get Valiant Twitter, which issue people like the most. Obviously, I can't do this on a week when Valiant only gives us one book, because obviously you would like that book. Or maybe you don't like it. But people liked Exo more than Livewire that took part.
Crazy.
That's okay, though. People like piss drinking. So, I mean, you know.
Some people like drinking piss, some people don't. I mean, hey, to each their own. Oh, man. This XO 23 is forever the piss drinking issue.
Yep.
That's what it is.
I just don't want to know about number 2s, okay? Just come on, Kent. Don't go there.
Spare me that information. Oh man. I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm a really big fan of Exo Scatawar. Oh man. No, I think we got really good books this week. And you know what? If I was smart, if I wasn't a moron, I would have already looked up.
Rising Spirit.
What's that?
I think next week is Bloodshot Rising Spirit.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to look it up, and that's probably why I'm getting all choppy now because my computer is ridiculous.
Your computer can only do one thing at a time now.
Yeah, apparently that's the limit of its capacities.
Ain't that some shit?
Scrolling is too much to ask from my computer. Yeah, I'm just trying to see what's coming next week. Is it just going to be Bloodshot or getting something else as well?
I cannot remember. I think it's just that.
Yeah, you're right. Spirit number 3 is the only thing coming out next week. I know a lot of people haven't really been digging that title, but honestly, I've been having fun with it. I think that going back into the history of Bloodshot is awesome, but I'm biased because I'm just a ridiculously big Bloodshot fan. So anything with him I'm gonna enjoy.
Yeah, I think once we get him out of the lab, it'll be a little more exciting. Like, because that's basically what he is. Really, it's just like we're not really getting into like early adventures. We're just kind of mostly getting into like the lab setting and like, oh, we sent him out somewhere, but like I want to see like a little more detail into like some of these like early missions. Like, let's go a little bit deeper into those kind of things to see like what he's had to do or what has transpired on those kind of things. But it's not my favorite take on Bloodshot. But I think that a lot of it just kind of comes down to the fact that like it just seems like the creative team, there's like some, like from Thompson and Nadler taking it, and then Kevin coming into it. The handoff kind of got fumbled a little bit, but we'll just see. Like I mean, I still like it enough to read it. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm really enjoying it. What I like the one of the things I remember thinking when Bloodshot started, right at the very beginning back in 2012, was, you know, they moved on really fast from his origin as a tool of Project Rising Spirit. And I always thought that, that there was kind of a missed opportunity there for a lot of story potential. And I think, you could argue that, this title isn't being handled perfectly. And, maybe it's not, but I do think it's really cool. I think it's cool seeing this, the struggles of these scientists trying to turn Bloodshot into Bloodshot, seeing the different memories, kind of getting that, like, is this memory real? Is this just another implant? Is this thing happening? I think it's cool that it's kind of playing around with that. I'm sure it won't do that the entire time. Maybe it will. We'll see. But honestly, I think that when this what is it going to be, like 8 or 9 issues or whatever is done, I think it'll be a really fun read, and maybe it's not going to be the most in-depth or groundbreaking Bloodshot story ever, but I still think it's going to be really awesome. And I think it's going to be something really cool to give people as the movie gets closer, and say, look, this is what this character is about. And here's the kind of stuff that you can expect from him. So
yeah,
for all those reasons, I think is badass.
yeah. All right.
Yeah. So, like I said, Exo 23 was a fun book. Livewire 2, I think, is absolutely amazing. I do want to say thank you. Some Okie dude hanging out with us. I know William Pace is in the chat. Crispy Bacon, obviously, hanging out here. Sean Hayes, we're always happy to have you disagreeing with us and giving us good ideas of topics to talk about.
Call us on our bullshit. We're okay with it.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And when we get shit wrong, let us know. So yeah, definitely. But and I want to say some Okie dude I know is not a long time Valiant fan. He's more getting into the characters and stories now, and that's awesome. I love when new people come in and just like we like new creators coming into the company and giving us a new perspective. I like seeing what new fans think of the company. Because I have a lot of passion for it, and not everybody's going to feel the same way, and I like getting different perspectives on the things that obviously I've put a lot of time and energy into.
I know he said he's like I'm a noob, and it's like and the only thing I can say is like I feel like Valiant fans are really passionate. There's not a lot of us, but we're loud about it, and I think that like whatever books you go on to, for the most part, I think you'll be really happy, And if you get the chance, go to a convention that Valiant's at, because Valiant, if you're looking to like get into these books and you don't have like a lot of the back issues, they usually sell like the first volume of a lot of the trade paperbacks for like 5 for $30. Like it's a really great deal, you know. So Valiant makes it easy. They want you to read. They want you to be happy. So jump in. You'll probably be a big fan like pretty fast. So, and the thing also too, one last thing about that, this is such a great community for questions. So like if you're ever like, oh, I need to know something, whether it's like our Facebook page, whether it's Valiant comic fans, or even like tweeting at Valiant, like tagging them in something and asking questions, people will give you an answer. It's a great community like that. There are great fans with Valiant.
Yeah, there's what's so great about Valiant? Everything is great about Valiant, in my opinion.
Most everything
But
is
everything, especially the really cool podcasts that Valiant fans make.
Valiant is awesome.
Yeah.
I was gonna say like for the most part, people will say Dead Drop isn't great. People will say that Fist and Steel, that Eternal Warrior miniseries wasn't great, and End Times was not awesome for Shadow Man. But for the most part, people really like everything else, So I think
Yeah, there's a couple individual little things that weren't super well received, but other than that, pretty much basically everything Valiant has put out has been, if not perfect, really good.
Yeah. Honestly, start with Harbinger or Exo, and if you can, get Bloodshot too. They're good books. Everything's, I mean, like, here's the thing. Eric and I are so passionate about this stuff. We like just about everything a lot. So, I mean, like, it's hard to come to us. We aren't as objective about it because we got into this because we like this universe so much and these books. We're just like, oh, we just, we rank everything pretty high, because we are.
Well, and I mean, the nice thing about a lot of Valiant fans is that we read everything that Valiant puts out. As Sean pointed out, one of the great things about Valiant is that it is a smaller shared universe. So it's possible to read the entire universe and know everything that's going on, all the things that have and are taking place. And that also makes it easier when a new person gets into something. If you're only interested in a couple of books, even though they might not be the books you're most interested might not be the ones I'm most interested in. I've still read the ones that you're interested in and can tell you a lot about them. So that's what's one of the things that's cool.
I remember like Dinesh always said that he didn't want to, when Dinesh was working for Valiant, when he was running everything, he understood that a Valiant book, whichever one you pick up, it might be someone's first book, and they don't want you to have to be like, I need to pick up another title to get what's going on in this. Like if you're reading Bloodshot, you only need to read Bloodshot if that's what you really like. If you're reading Exo, you only need to get Exo. You don't have to get everything, to enjoy the title, Whereas sometimes it's like, oh, I've got to get Batman, and then I've got to get Batman and Robin, and then I've got to get Batman the Dark Knight, like things like that. Like you can just read like one book if you want, But they do make it easy. Valiant usually has like 5 to 6 books. I think at one point they might have had like 8 or 9. And you don't even have to go back to the 90s material either. Like you can really just stick with the stuff that happened to the 2012 launch and be happy with it. So there's not a lot of history that we really have to get into.
So to kind of wrap things up, I think it's hilarious that Crispy Bacon had to keep us on track earlier and remind us that we were talking about the solicits and then just moved on without actually talking about them. And now Sean is reminding us that we need to let people know that if you enjoy our podcast, like the videos, subscribe to us, and hit the bell icon so that you'll get notified. That way, when we have stupid technical difficulties and we have to abandon one stream and jump to another, you get the notification and you can hop into the new stream with us and have a conversation with us and we can all chat about whatever's going on. And the other thing that, we used to do this as a recorded podcast and put it out later. And I think that we've both really enjoyed doing this live with this ability to interact with people. Sean's been interacting with us a lot. We got Jason on here sometimes interacting with us. Crispy Bacon, obviously. William Pace, some Okie Dude is hanging out. We got a few other people that like to come and interact on a fairly regular basis as well. So always welcome everybody to do that.
Yep. And one thing I would also add to this, we're very bad at when it comes to saying like subscribe to us or share our podcast out. if you like us, we hope you do. We like doing this, you know. And if you can, come visit us on our various places that you can interact with us, whether it's Twitter with the Get Valiant page on Facebook. You can email us at getvaliant@gmail.com. And if you can, even rate us on whatever platform you're listening to us. You don't have to do a 5 star. Obviously, we like that. And I always see people are like, "Oh, give us 5 star reviews at this place." Hey, fuck you. Maybe you're only worth a 3. You know, and if you feel like that about us, I'm cool with it. You know, you don't have to give us like a crazy high review, but if you like us or if you even think we're okay, give a review. It does kind of help us, you know, as far as like trying to reach more listeners. We get suggested to other people, so yeah, we can get past all that.
Yeah. So
We're just
thank
fun
you
about
everybody who does support us. Thanks everybody for supporting Valiant and for hanging out with us. That's what this is all about. But yeah. So thanks everybody. I'm going to sign off. I'm Eric Baumgard.
I'm Josh Rathbun.
And I hope that you guys all drink your piss.
XO Scatawar.